So hello to the channel. I hope you like this new way I'm gonna speak and pronounce words, because I was watching my previous videos and maybe the way I speak is not so understandable like this one. So before starting the video today, I wanted to give a special thanks to Professor Victor Davis Hanson, from which I saw a couple of his classes online, and many of the things, not many, just a few of the things I'm gonna add to this subject I'm gonna talk today came from some of his history classes about America and about the changes that we are having. And yes, just before starting the video, I'm gonna just put a short clip about that class I watched, and below in the description I'm gonna leave you a direct link to that class from him, and it's gonna be very useful, I hope, for you too. Okay, so I'm gonna just put the shot right now, and we're gonna start.
Middle class, because there's 2 or 3 indices throughout history, especially modern history, that tell us that the middle class is very viable. The first is the age of marriage. When a person reaches his teens and he has a farm, or he inherits it, or he builds it, or he acquires something, then he has confidence, he and she, to get married. Yet the average age of Americans at marriage has gone from about 21 to 29 or 30. The second indices is when you are confident that you're economically viable and you're independent and you can manage your debt, and you do not owe 50% of all your debt on a mortgage, then you can have children. And if you have children, this is very controversial, of course, because we're not deprecating people who choose not to have them or can't have them, but investment in something other than yourself, an investment in your country, with the idea that when you die, your values, the effort you put into your property, that's going to go to somebody else to have another chance to perpetuate the American idea, is very essential. And yet, the age that people are having children, women are bearing children at an average age somewhere between 27 and 29 from 23, 24 a few years ago. And about a third of marriages don't occur to after a child is born. So we've radically redefined childbearing and the age of marriage. There's a third element to this dismal picture, and that is the age of home ownership. That has been delayed substantially. Whereas in the 1950s, people were typically getting married at 21 or 22, having a child 23, 24, buying a house 25, 26. Now home ownership is gone down, as I said, to about 60% of the population, and that's been delayed to mid or late 30s.
Okay, so the subject today is the question, right? Is gold, silver, any sort of investment in jewelry and in luxury stones, any way of this type of investments, is it better than stocks? This is a very good question, and the short answer is no. No, if you know how to correctly select the best stocks. The situation right now, after I did my research, is that currently there are many stocks that are extremely undervalued and can be bought for pennies on the dollar. And the first answer is no. Stocks are better. However, if you are investing blindly, of course, gold, silver probably is gonna give you a much better result than just buying stocks blindly, because when you buy stocks blindly, you run the risk of buying something that's overvalued or highly valued instead of buying something undervalued. And yes, so in the same way, Warren Buffett is very famous. He recommends people to just buy the SP 500 if they don't know what to do. I estimate that if you simply buy gold, silver, you're gonna have better results than just blindly buying stocks when you have no idea about which ones to invest. But today I'm not gonna talk about I'm not gonna speak ill about gold, about people who invest in that. No, and I'm not going to talk to you about how stocks are the greatest investment. Today, I rather will describe to you why I think gold, silver, any sort of jewelry, other type of collectibles, that can be that can increase in price, will have and probably will always have that place in the financial world, in the world of investing. And the reason is for what this professor David Hansen, sorry, I don't remember the full name, for Victor Davis Hansen, was mentioning in his class. There are some type of investments which are more easy for the middle class, for the lower classes to be understood, and that provide a sense of safety. And gold and silver will always have this benefit, this characteristic, because people can touch it, can have it with them, can hide it behind their mattress. A stock, you cannot hide it behind your mattress. Your stock will be always being guarded by a broker, by your bank. And gold is different. Gold, you can have it near you. And this professor in his classes was explaining how decades ago, when most of the population, were sons of farmers, of people from the fields. In some sense, they were related by these people, and they had the mentality of these people. And back in the day, these people weren't exactly stupid, despite they couldn't understand how stocks worked, even in those times where they didn't even have internet to research about it by themselves. But these people wasn't stupid. They had some degree of intelligence. They understand that they were responsible for their future, that they had to work hard, that if they work hard they will be fine, and if they didn't work hard they will suffer. This is the mentality that came from the fields, where you have to invest in a piece of land, and work hard, so one day you can harvest it. And if you don't do the things right, your future is going to be ruined. You're not going to harvest. And this mentality of investing in a piece of land that you can have in front of you, that you can touch, that you can stand on it, that if someone tries to invade it, if someone tries to destroy it, basically you can go out with your shotgun and defend your space. And this type of investment was the type that these people understood, and understood it very, very well. So when most of the American population and the middle class had to move from the fields to the big cities, because most of the jobs were developing in those areas, in the big city you don't have farmland in all the cities. Some you have in the outsides, but in the big cities you cannot invest in farmland. But despite that, back in the day, when the alternative of investing in real estate or houses was extremely affordable, what is the description of an investment in the city that is like a piece of land that you can buy, that you can own, in the same way farmland works, right? In the city, you can buy a piece of land, own it, protect it, improve it. After some time that you make improvements of it, is going to go up in value. And even in these pieces of land, you can harvest them in a monthly basis, not even in a seasonal basis, but on a monthly basis. You can generate a harvest that you can collect, not from the land but from the people in this case. And if at this point you didn't realize that what I'm describing is investing in a home, I'm a little bit worried. That's the idea. People that came from the fields to the city, and this is what the professor explained to us, they were able to understand this idea that they could own a home, and that was a safe investment. And if someone was trying to come and steal it, or cause any sort of damage, they were able to defend it, in the same way you can defend a field. And this made a middle class that despite wasn't educated enough to understand stocks, they had the common sense of becoming able to buy homes, to invest in real estate, in properties. And gold and silver had the same quality in the sense that something you can have and you can hold it. And people can feel safe about it and can understand it. So, what I'm trying to say, as this professor told us, there's big consequences on the current situation where owning homes is much more expensive. In some states of the United States, it's becoming unaffordable. And people is not like the people on the fields nowadays. People is full of excuses, so they will tell themselves, I cannot afford that down payment. How I can invest in a home if I cannot pay the down payment, if the mortgage rate is way above what I pay in rent instead of being below. Okay, all this made worse by the current high interest rates we are experiencing.
Here's how much money you need to make to afford a $700,000 home. Here, come take a look. Let's say you're going to put a minimal down payment of 5% with an interest rate of 7%. That gives you a total mortgage payment of $44.25. Add in your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, and your mortgage insurance. That's going to give you a total monthly payment of just over $5,500 a month. We like to keep your housing payment under 40% of your total monthly income. So that means you need to make almost $14,000 a month or $165,000 a year to purchase this home. Follow me for more content.
So, if these people have these excuses and don't invest in homes anymore, maybe an alternative that they can understand because they can touch it would be silver, gold, any sort of collectibles. That I hope at least they invest in those, because back in the day, the educational system wasn't good enough. So people graduated from high school or even from college understanding what a stock is, what is owning a piece of a business, and why is it safe in many countries because the legal system is protecting you. All this idea is very complex. And most people didn't understand it. And nowadays, we continue in that bad path. Most schools allow children to graduate without having the mental power of understanding what is a stock. They even graduate from college and they don't understand what's a stock or why it could be a good investment or why some stocks are cheap related to related to the piece of ownership they represent. They don't understand any of this stuff, and they combine this with excuses that block them from fighting to get for enough money for a down payment. And yes, nowadays we can go to the internet, we can learn those things from ourselves, but even schools fail to teach people how to research by themselves. So basically they don't invest in anything. And this is why gold and many other financial assets will have their place in society. In the same way, if you want to invest in real estate with little money, rates might have their place because some people feel safe about real estate instead of stocks, and they will buy rates instead of stocks. And this is why these low return financial products will always have their place, despite those aren't better than stocks. This is the reason. And yes, basically that will be the message. Nowadays, people, it's very important that they invest in something. As the wisdom quote says, it's more honorable and more useful to have a life full of mistakes than a life of doing nothing. Okay, a life full of mistakes is more honorable and more useful than a life where people do nothing. So, if people don't listen to me right now, if this is not a call to action, if people don't wake up and they don't start understanding stocks, which are very important, because the middle class today can't afford having a home. This is the message from this historian and the class below. We live right now in an environment where the middle class can't own a home. So it's so important that with the little money they have, as little as it is, maybe just investing $100 a month, if they at least buy stocks, if they at least start having more services that guide them about which are cheap, undervalued stocks that are more likely to perform well. If people is capable of at least start investing in that, we might not end up having the tragedy we're having nowadays, where 60% of Americans, live paycheck to paycheck, where probably more than half of them, as is mentioned in this class from Professor Davis Hanson, more of half of them die with credit card debt and no investments left to their children, to their family. It's the current situation. It's what the middle class is becoming. So not only we're gonna deteriorate in that sense if people don't start investment, but nowadays people, especially poorer classes, are more vulnerable to fall into the mentality of thinking that they are victims, that their strategy should be to look for places where the government will provide the benefits and services for them. It's not like this middle class from previous decades that came from the fields and have this wisdom of understanding that that their destiny was in their own hands, and that if they didn't work, they were not going to become able to harvest. And back in the day, these people was lovely people that business owners liked to work with. They were more religious, they were more decent. They didn't have internet back in the day. So basically, when you had this present in front of you, these were people that you couldn't be angry at them, because these people didn't have internet. If they didn't have a good college in their town, basically they were in a big disadvantage. But nowadays, people, the middle class, is not as religious as previous times. Sometimes less. It's more segregated. So many different segregations, from groups of people that are desperate of generating their own cults to fight poverty. These people have the internet, but they don't use it. So basically, you are facing all the time a person that has on the tips of his fingers the solution to many of his problems, but he doesn't use it, and he misuse it. And this personality that we have today, it's more nice in the sense that he can help himself more if he decides to wake up, because he can study, he can research. But in some sense, it's not so enjoyable as these previous generations. These previous generations, also when they bought a home, this means that they were going to stick to one place, and that increased the value of them as employees, because they were in one place paying that mortgage. They were valuable employees. They were going to stay in that area probably for many years until they finished their mortgage payments. And their employers didn't have the pressure of having to make a retirement plan for them, because the retirement of these people was in the equity of their home, in the price of the home, if we speak in simpler terms. Nowadays, people don't have their own retirement. They don't invest in anything. The employee has to manage with an employee that needs everything. If you can't provide a good retirement plan for your employee, this employee is at high risk of falling in poverty, because it's not the same type of people we had in previous generations in this country. This means that business owners might not be willing to open businesses and deal with this profile of person. It's not. And we have to combine that with more regulations we have today in the United States that makes makes it more difficult to open a business. So the employees are more difficult. They don't invest by themselves. They are dependent. They are needed by money. So basically, they don't negotiate high salaries because they are needed by money. They live paycheck by paycheck. It's harder to open a business. We have to combine this with that the United States currently have a third or more of their small businesses for sale right now, or they're going to go for sale soon. And there's not enough buyers, enough people interested in managing these businesses. So many of these businesses are going to close because nobody wants to deal with the problematic of managing a business nowadays. Many of these businesses that were built by these previous generations are gonna be closed after their owners die or find no heirs or find no buyers to sell these businesses to. So this is the current situation of the United States. So this is why gold and silver might be a better investment. It's better to invest in something than in nothing, right? So these assets might play a role. However, in the educational process of helping people to invest and grow, it's more important than ever that nowadays people understand what is a stock, why is a good choice, you know. And in the same way, if they require the assistance of salesmen, of people who can explain them from a catalog of possibilities which ones might be good for them. If they need assistance of salesmen, it's more important than ever that we make sure or we cultivate the values in salesmen so they don't give bad experiences to people, recommending bad stuff. We need people with the ethics and the values of looking for good options and recommending the middle class and lower classes good options to invest. So they don't become so dependent on this rat race of trying to get into this company that have the best retirement plan, or this company that is gifting away stock to their employees. You know, it's very important that people can be independent, or at least that are not dependent of a company in a competitive environment, but rather that can receive advice from people who will assist families in an independent way. If it's not directly because it's too expensive, you know, I hope we start developing YouTube channels where people give advice to people about how to invest, you know, how to maybe save $100 a month and throw it in stocks, you know, and yeah. And that will be the message. And so the answer to the question, is gold better than stocks? No, it's not. It's not. But for many people, it's gonna be a reasonable movement they can understand. And let's hope it keeps going up. And this demand from people that cannot understand other stuff and just buy gold will help the commodity to keep going up. If it doesn't go up for the use, you know, as you know, gold is one of the best conductors in Earth. It's the best, I think. And in the same way, silver have many applications, but the value that silver or gold have as a metal, I think, is way below the current price. You know, the current price of gold is based on an excess of demand, and many people who don't want to sell it. If many people decide that they want to sell gold, this can negatively influence gold. And in some way, if all the world were extremely educated and knew about which stocks are good option to buy, probably all people will start selling their gold, so they exchange it for things that produce something, right? And gold will reach, you know, as a price based on his uses as a metal, you know, and not as a currency. And yeah, so I hope you liked the video today. I sincerely recommend you to visit that video from the professor. You know, he makes very good explanations. Myself, I hope one day I become as good as him. Yeah, I would keep trying to improve, and just leave me in the comments what can I do better, what I did wrong, and yeah, just leave them in the comments, leave a like, subscribe. You can support the channel with our merch, or in the future we might add a Patreon channel, and yeah, or requesting my books. You know, I write books about how to understand stocks, how to understand what is a good one, what's a bad one. My book is actually very good. I'm very proud of it, and I already have other books in subjects non-related with investing. But yeah, after I finish those books, I might start offering them too. So yeah, thank you for visiting today the channel, and I hope the information I shared with you was valuable and help you to take better choices. Okay, better decisions. Goodbye and good night.